about humor? What about humor, really? Like, there's such a lightness in humor. And is there anything lacking in humor when humor is here? Anything else you'd like to share as because we hear what Shukra's laughing, we can, what do you have, Shukra?
No, I was just feeling the fullness of humor. I feel it's a very underrated spiritual quality. Like it's got such power to it, and yeah, and I was just enjoying feeling into it, touching into it. Yeah.
Underrated spiritual quality. Nice. Anything else comes to you on that, Shukra, on humor, feeling into it?
Yeah, I just have an image of Krishna playing his flute and giving me a little wink.
Mm,
Playfulness.
mm. So what's like most like humor that's here now for all of us? From Katya to everyone. Sorry, did you just start? We're just starting, Katya, and just perfect timing. We were just playing around as we were waiting for you to arrive, and Inga was speaking about things were just kind of funny in her life. And Shukra's speaking of this quality of beingness, of humor. And I was just asking, what's most like humor that's here for us? What's the flavor? Maybe there's a different word for it in your system. Most like humor that's here. And just as we're just kind of coming together, and thank you, Shukra. And Katya, give us a little taste of you today. Hi.
Well, my taste of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was shock. And right now, it's like what others do or say is how they are feeling and how they see life. And has nothing to do with me. So that made me feel better for the moment. That's the way I am today. Just receive that gift. That's their business, not my business.
Mm,
And it's tough, because it's my
yes.
sons. It's not, I don't know
Yes.
who.
So,
That's how I am feeling.
so what is it that is so we're in situations. Katya was in a situation this weekend where there was shock with someone that was dear to her. And when we're in situations like that, we have parts that respond in all kinds of ways, right? They get pulled in, and then we can even see the theater of the drama of the parts that respond to this. And it might be some are in shock. And then there's this that's untouched, this self, this being, this perhaps this humor. What is it that's untouched in each of us? And we're gonna formally dive in about 5 minutes into all of this. But Katya speaks of something that is untouched by it. How do we find that? How do we find that in our system? This that is just sometimes they call it causelessly okay in the midst of difficult situations. Thank you, Katya. Nice to have you here. And I have no idea how to pronounce NAO. I need help.
It's now. But you can,
Now,
yeah, you can call me Naomi.
Naomi.
Yes. I didn't even know my name was now on here, so, so
Oh,
it's my first
gosh.
time. Thank you for yeah.
What's it? Can you feel the space of welcoming here?
Yes.
Naomi. And it's like, and we're all like, who is this Naomi? Oh, wow. And just this welcoming and this curiosity. And the idea of these, one of the ideas for this group is that it's a celebration of everything that arises in us. And it's a game we all play to see if we can not only welcome our parts, but welcoming and celebrating the parts of everyone else that's here. And how about for a little glimpse into Naomi, what's one thing that's bubbling for you right now?
Hmm. I'd say there's a bit of fear of being vulnerable here with people. I usually do IFS on my own or with my therapist. So I think this is a sort of a big leap for me to be in this group or to participate in this group today. So there's anxiety, but I feel like the energy in this space is very warm and welcoming, and I feel very safe to open up. So there's a lot of different parts showing up right now.
Oh, thank you. Well, none of us can relate to that, Naomi. How about that? Like a little bit of fear, some anxiety, being in a group, and it's like, hey, what's going on inside of you? Give us a picture of your inner world. It's like, what? It's like, can we all find that the parts that protect us, parts that are like, hey, I'm not sure about this. And when we hear this in Naomi, the little bit of anxiety, a little bit of uncertainty, it's the first time here. As we hear this part of hers, is there just not like just a welcoming of that and appreciation of it? It's like, wow, how wonderful. She's got this part that's looking after her. And can we find the same thing for in our own systems? The part like not like Naomi, so one that's maybe a little anxiety, uncertain, we want to be careful here. And can we appreciate it? How, wow, this part's really there to look after me. And some of us might have like another part that's like, God, this part really gets in the way. It shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have this anxiety here. I should be just, hey, everybody, and wide open and just dive in nakedly. Hmm. Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Nice that you're here with us. And Vendor, we can't see you. Are you there? Maybe she's not. Well, let me do this, especially with what Naomi shared. Um, Let me do my little housekeeping real quick, and then we'll just kind of dive in together and just kind of walk each other in. Uh, the housekeeping is I'm a mediator, I'm not a psychotherapist. And so today it's a group of friends as we explore together. And if everybody's good being responsible for their own journey today, if I could get a thumbs up from you, please. Awesome. And then secondly, I think I have the recording on. Yes, I always record these, but it's only my square, only my image would ever be shared. I make this available for others who can't come. Sometimes I'm, oh, there's Vendor. Hey, Vendor. Oh, and let me talk. I'll finish this. And then, but the audio that you speak could be shared, could be part of that. And so if there's any uncertainty about that, let me know. I make you a co-host and you just click pause when you speak. Or at the end, you can let me know if there was something you said that you're just like, whoa, no, and I just delete it. But this is the good news. This is different than other IFS groups, that we don't go into the story of the parts so much. And it's like, what? But it's the good news is we listen for what the parts are really longing for, and we help them find that. So there's no need to go into the story so much. We want to kind of even go beneath that and hearing deeper into the part. So if everyone is good, being that this might be shared, if I could get a thumbs up from you, please. Great. And well, here we are. And also, like with Naomi being new to us, right, you can always pass any time. We're just for me, it's like we're sitting in a circle. This isn't like a Zoom for me. It's like we're all in your living room with you, and we're just in a circle, and you can pass any time. And but let's just dive in, and then we can say, yes, Shukra, what you got? Oh, you're muted.
I just wanted to check something. I'm sitting here with my notebook open because I'm feeling very overflowing of insights that are coming through. And I just wanted to just name that and just check if that was okay. I'm not writing anything confidential of anyone else's, it's just my own insights. Is that okay? I just wanted to see if that was
Everybody,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Thank you.
but I have a but. What do you have for us? You have an insight for us to start off?
Um, it was more like stuff that was popping in from earlier in my day. um, around yeah, I think it's probably not quite relevant. I don't know. It was around receiving voice, like the song of the soul, and just allowing how that comes through in all kinds of different ways, basically.
Is this receiving voice from others or from your own voice?
From self, like when it just overflows and resonates through you in ways that are completely unexpected and healing and space creating.
Song of the soul, hearing the self, a way that's healing and space creating. Where does that go for all of us as we hear that? Hearing the self, maybe feeling the self, its voice. And what's different? How do we know it's self for each of us? How do we know it's like the self? It's different. Is it the effect of it that it's space creating and it's healing? Is it because does it have a different vibration, a different feel? Does it have a different tone? Is there, when you hear the voice of self, is it like a deep voice, a high voice, a heartful voice? How do we discern that? Thank you, Shukra. That's beautiful. And so, what we've been doing, I called it something different in the email I sent out yesterday. I said the self-realization healing game. It's really just looking at what we're doing together here. So, for each of us, what does self-realization mean for you? And maybe it's more the Dick Schwartz word, self-leadership, self-abidance. What we're going to do together is just a becoming more intimate with self, with this sound, this voice that Shukra's been hearing. And in the East, they use the word self-realization, where you become so intimate with it, there's no separation from it. So as we begin, what's that sound that you hear? What's the voice that you're hearing right now? What's the feel, presence of self, of beingness? In this silence, where do you find it? You feel it. It's what this body is made of. And where do you hear it? The sound of the silence. Or is it more Shukra's word, the sense of the spaciousness that's here? Or Inga's and Shukra's other word, this, this humor, funny, the lightness. Or is more what I experience when I look at Inga and Jessica up there, and it's just this experience of peace, calmness, peace. What's the loudest quality for you right now of the self? And how do you know it's here? A feeling, a seeing, a hearing, just a knowing. How do you know this is here? Are you aware of it? And are you aware as it? And lastly, can you let it just pervade this body of yours? It be a sense of sinking into it. And then from here, from this, from self, what are you aware of from here? What are the what are the two loudest parts that are here? The loudest thoughts? What do you hear? Is there a thought that's like, how much longer is this little dive gonna go? Does Shukra have some more insight for us? What's my next meal today? My back hurts. Oh, I really relate to Naomi's anxiety. I can feel that. What's the, what are the thoughts? What are the parts? What are the voices you hear? And as you notice them, where do you hear them or see them or feel them? Just the two loudest voices. See if we can each find that, be aware of. And as we're aware of it, where are we aware from? Is it a part that's helping us? Is it kind of, oh, I hear what this game is to become aware of two parts. I can do that. Is it a part that's aware of your two loudest parts? And if so, if we can just be aware of that part as well, that helper part. And then from here, from the spaciousness, this piece of self, just to notice the loudest parts in your system. And then to follow what Katya was saying about what happened for her in the weekend. There was a lot of activity and some shock, but in the midst of that, she found that she could just step back to this place of okayness. So as you're aware of these parts, is there also this place of self that you're aware from that is untouched, untouched by the parts? This prominent quality of self that you had, is it here? Is it okay? Is it undiminished, untouched, unbothered? And then from here, what's your relation from self with the parts that are here, with your thoughts, feelings, or sensations? What's the relation? Is it okay that the parts are here? Is it okay that these voices that you're hearing are here? Or is it more that there's just awareness of what's happening? There's an awareness, like a theater, like it's a theater, a stage, and there's awareness of these parts. Or is it more like the roomie's guest house and you are the space, you are the host, and these guests, these parts are just here, playing, being here? And what's your relation to these parts? Is there a sense of welcoming? Or is it more a sense of awareness of them? Is there acceptance? Is there okayness? What comes naturally? And then just one more question. We're almost done. From a distance, without getting too close to the parts, you're listening from a distance. If you were to guess, what is it that they're wanting? What is it that these parts are truly longing for? What is it that your parts, what is it that the personalness of you, of Katya, Jessica, Inga, Dave, Shukra, Naomi, Vendor, what is it that's being longed for? What are your parts longing for? Is it acceptance? Is it connection, belonging? Is it care? Is it love? Is it peace? Is it flow? Is it humor, lightness of being? Is it ease? What are they longing for? And as you see if you can you're just aware of what your parts are longing for. And then what's most like that which is here now, as what's most like what's being longed for that's here. And on that note, we could just gently come back together. And this is so cool that we're not alone. There's 7 of us with you, that your parts, it's not just the self of you, it's all of us, a space that's welcoming your parts. There's this field of love and acceptance and care and connection that we all get to soak in. So as we come back together, maybe can your parts feel that they're not alone, that there's this self that's just welcoming them? And just to make this a little bit more somatic for all of us, we can see our bodies in the picture. Can we feel this in our bodies, that almost like we're soaking in this being, this field, this hot tub of love and care and connection? Can you somatically receive that? You get to rest in this wonderfulness that's here, the 7 of us that are with you. So we'll just open this up gently. And like the curiosity, it's a celebration of you is what we're here for. And so the curiosity is, how are you? How are you? What's here for you? And for some of us answer with, like, well, what were the 2 loudest parts here for us? And what was the self? Or what was it like? The self-meeting parts. And for some of us, it was like, that didn't work at all, Sid. I have one part that was just really frustrated. And it was just that one part was here. And that's the only thing that was going on. And that's so cool. There's no right way. Who wants to go first and share with us what's happening for you?
I want to go first,
Yay.
but help me and guide me, okay?
Okay.
The first thing I found after the disaster and the shock was what I said at the beginning. Others are how they are, and it has nothing to do with me. I started to feel compassion.
Tati, let me ask you something else first, just before you go there. What was the beingness? What was the self that you find? What's here in terms of self for you? What was the loudest quality?
Can you tell me again what you asked?
Yes. this, maybe it was maybe it's compassion and love when we speak of this self, this being, this that's untouched, this that's intrinsic to us. What do you find here?
I found compassion and I found comfort from the self.
So let's just pause there for a minute because that's so lovely. The idea that there's comfort here that's intrinsic and it's causeless. It relies on nothing out there in experience. It relies on, it doesn't matter how people perceive or experience us or react to us. That in self, there's just this place of comfort here. And let me just do I, as we all, because this is, you're kind of guiding us all here, and just let me just invite us all. What's most like that in your system? What Katya is speaking of, this comfort, this causeless comfort. And then he also describes there's compassion here. There's just this love that's here. It just comes. You don't have to do anything. It's just here. What's most like that in each of us? Right. Go on, Katya. Please continue.
Okay, I didn't understand why happened what happened. And now today I started understanding why it happened what happened. That's why I am saying compassion, compassion from the self towards me that was feeling abandoned and betrayed by self and by others.
Oh, this there was an experience of abandoned and betrayed. So
Betrayal.
these would be parts. And just see if you can notice the aspect of you that felt abandoned and betrayed. We don't want to miss this. This is really yummy stuff here. And just for all of us, as we hear that Katya has parts that felt abandoned and betrayed, how are we all responding to this? Are we responding? Is there from self? Is there a sense of welcoming that, welcoming parts in her that felt abandoned and betrayed? Notice this is, or do we and do we have parts that come up that might be trying to wanted to help or maybe correct or maybe parts that like, oh, you shouldn't feel abandoned, or abandoned is this, like, do we notice parts that come up as Katya shares this? And we can also find the self that just kind of welcomes and celebrates parts, even parts that feel abandoned, betrayed. Maybe they're really angry and frustrated and they feel this is unjust, this is wrong. As these parts of hers, are they welcomed? Can we find the stuff that just unconditionally welcomes them? And what's that like for you, Katya, as you have like I can't unconditionally welcome them. What's it like for you to have the abandoned and betrayed parts inside of you?
Terrible. I wanted to die, really die, and it was difficult for me to welcome those parts. Besides abandonment and betrayal, being angry, I couldn't, but today, right now, doing this and before, I feel different. But I am
Yes.
being able to accept those parts.
Yes, beautiful. But you named it. You named two other things. We just don't want to miss this. There was anger there as well. With this abandon and betrayal, there was anger. As we hear the anger that Katya has, this part of Katya, can we welcome that as well, or is that like that's a little too much? Those for our system, the anger, can it be welcomed? Can her anger be welcomed? And she's like, no, no, beautiful. And what doesn't? Which part of us says? You said we saw it in Katya, right? No. What part says no to welcoming anger? So this game we're playing is really, if we can welcome and explore what happens in our relation to Katya's system, it's just so much easier than doing it with our own system. It can be so much easier. And if we can do it with hers, then it becomes easier to do it with ours. So my question for all of us, when anger comes up in Katya, or if you want in yourself, what part says no to accepting that? What parts don't see the innocence and beauty and the anger that sees this is a problem? We gotta, or maybe we just need to protect ourselves. This is, if we get anger, the ramifications are going to be too much. Okay, so we've got the anger, we've got a part that says no to it, and then we also have the absolute overwhelm that Katya mentioned. I just want to die. This is too much. I just want to die. As we hear that part, how do we even imagine it in Katya? Like, like that movie Inside Out 2. What's the, like, do you have an image for what that, like, I just want to die might look like in Katya's, that the dearness of that part? That's just, this is all too much. Yeah, oh yeah, Naomi, you have something.
I think for me, the image that comes to mind is sort of like someone crunching down, and if it feels like there's a storm, and I feel like the opposite of that would be strength and resilience, which your shoulders would be up and straight. I feel like there's more like there's yeah, like a worn out crunching and a weakness, and yeah, it feels like there's no strength.
And so when we find this, we find our version of it, this for Naomi, it's crunched down, no strength, too much, the storm. When we find, in whatever it looks like in Katya's system, in each of our systems, this one that's just, it's overwhelmed, I just want to die. And we all know this, the one that just gives up. I was driving home last night at midnight from the airport, and it's just like, this is too much, I can't do this, I'm exhausted. And it's just the one that does this and goes further than that, I just want to die. What's that like in our system? And can we see the dearness of it, and Naomi's version of it? Like when we see that, what do we feel towards that? Is it met with love, or is it met with like, no, you shouldn't be here? How's that playing in our system? And so, Katya, you said that what you've discovered, that there's a little sense of, you found some welcoming today. You found some welcoming, some okayness with some of what's been arising in you. What's the flavor? What's the feel of that?
The feeling is loved. I feel loved by God.
Beautiful. So just as we kind of come to a close here with what Katya is sharing, all of these parts and her experiences of feeling of love, being loved, are we part of that love? Is that what's arising from us for her system, for her parts? Is it just being loved? I need to get off camera for a minute. Got it. And so, and then for our own system, for our parts that resonate with Katya, these parts of hers, she was guiding us to these universal parts that are, we all know these. This is too much, the anger, abandon. What's it like when those parts arise in us? Are they being welcomed? Are they being loved? And then also the wisdom of the part that says no, too much. Katya had a part that said no to anger. Our parts that come up, that we play with capacity here. It's an organic capacity to how much we can welcome. And there's a wisdom to that. And can we hear our part that says that, like, okay, this is enough, Sid, it's enough. And can we hear the wisdom of that and welcome that as well? Thank you, Katya. Beautiful. Anything bubbling that would like to be shared in a response, or what that touches in you, where Katya just took us? Yeah, David.
On the hearing the words about betrayal and abandonment, which I had not brought with me, but it resonated very strongly when Katya was speaking. And before she used the word anger, I could feel that there was anger rising up in relationship to those feelings. And a part of me that was kind of cool that I hadn't really seen too well before was, it wasn't so much the anger that had to be fenced off or held back, but it was the expression of the anger. It's like I'm protecting myself by holding the anger in, because if I were to express it, I would be rejected as a person. And I don't want that. I don't want to be
What's it
alone.
like? What's it like to be with that? There's this the anger that's there, and then a part that says, "Hey, wait, I don't know if we don't want to express this because there'll be ramifications." How are you with being with that, with all that energy, David? What's that like? That polarity, that tension?
It's paradoxical because it's confining on the one hand, but it's protective. And
Is
that's
it
really, yeah, go.
is it okay that that's there, that paradoxical tension?
Well, I mean, yes, in a way, I see that it's functional in a limited way. It's cutting me off from self on the one hand, but it's protective. It's functioning as a protection.
And why does it how does it cut you off from self? We have two parts. Just so we're all with David here. We've got this anger part. The anger is coming. We all know anger, and we have another part that says, okay, you can have anger, but but don't express it. But we don't want to express it. We have these two parts, and David says in his system, but it blocks, it cuts me off from self. How does that happen, David?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm doing this. I feel like the walls are closing in, kind of. The contraction is the opposite of the relaxed openness that are qualities of being or qualities of self.
Oh, we've got this contraction. We've got this anger and this one like, don't you dare express this. We've got this contraction. And then what's our response to it? And all of us, the anger and the one that's saying no to it. How do we respond to that inside? Is it accepted? Is it being welcomed? Or are there other parts that come up inside of you that see it as a problem? That, hey, we'd be better off if this wasn't here. What comes up in
It's
all of us with this?
it's
Yeah,
actually
David.
lovely to see it because the seeing and the accepting are, if not identical, then they're very closely related. So that was kind of joyous and forgiving myself for the anger that arose and for the crunching down that didn't want to express it.
The forgiving yourself. Could we say that that is the nature of self? That's what this
Uh,
acceptance is.
yeah, like room enough in self for all of that.
And this is really where David's taken us. It's really pushing the edge, right? Anger, this no to anger, and all the tension in that. And could we really find like acceptance and being at home itself in the midst of that? And how does that play? How would you find your way there inside yourself? Is it what David was saying, this forgiveness that comes with acceptance? Or is it more just fascination or seeing it? There's something about seeing it. Anything else, David?
Uh, yeah, well, the being arose and happiness arose in the seeing of it. So this was a fun little trip,
Mm.
uh, which it's again kind of the thing about why I didn't come with any of this uh, stuff that Katya had been through that brought her to this experience, but I resonated with it, and so the feeling of being in a group where it's safe to play around and have fun with all of this is just that's why I come here.
Neato. Thanks for taking us into such a rich edge of this with anger, David. Thank you.
I want to say something. I want to say that I remember at the beginning I said I didn't accept the anger part. And now that I have been listening to you and realizing, I can say that I accept my anger part, because what I did was write. I cannot even tell you what I wrote, but I wrote for myself the worst, the most angry part, and it helped me because I allowed myself to feel that anger, and now I accept it. Did I make myself clear?
Yes,
Thank you, because
yes.
I wasn't sure.
Thank you, Katya. What about that? What about this acceptance that we're playing with here? Katya described, like, I can't even tell you what I wrote. It was like that, this anger. But we have parts that are like that, right? That are just, oh yeah, if anybody saw this, I could never let anybody see this, but that doesn't matter. It's like inside you, is it accepted? Is it welcomed? Are those expressions welcome? Are the angers, the frustration, the terror, the I can't do this anymore, I want to die? And all of that be welcomed. And then as it's welcomed, can we perhaps even glimpse the innocence of these voices inside of us? And what would it be like if all of these voices were really welcomed? And if they were just beyond welcome, they were just that's what we're trying to play with here. They were really like celebrated and enjoyed, and the innocence was being seen. Woo. Okay, let's keep moving. Who wants to go next? Or is there anything else that's bubbling right now with what Katya said? And then we got all kinds of story, we get so much to explore today. Anything else bubbling that wants to be said before we go to who's next? Is that Naomi? Did you raise your hand? Sorry.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to share that a bit like David, although what Katya was saying didn't directly happen to me, it sort of resonated with some things that's been happening in my life. And I didn't realize, but there was sort of this aversion to the anger that it's not okay. But with listening and seeing David go through his experience with his parts, it's allowed me to bring forth more acceptance and sort of empowerment to that anger, that you are setting a boundary within yourself that is not tolerated or like a no. But also it's nice to see that we can sort of let those parts be seen in a way that doesn't impact others, like how she wrote it down in her notes. I thought that was a nice thing, and it's kind of tools I can bring into my own life.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you. Anything else bubbling? Yeah,
Yeah.
Inga.
God, two things came up. One is this. I can see how in my system there used to be so much fear of the angry part. And one thing that also came up when I heard the word acceptance, it's this. I've often seen that understanding those parts, and really getting it, how much they really care. This angry part. Today she came in like for a moment, like, well, this person hurt me, and the sadness is not tolerable, I have to protect myself. And then I realized, yeah, it's so okay to be with that sadness. But what I wanted to say is this, this angry part for me, she often shows up as a very young girl and very desperate, used to be so desperate. Like, I just don't know what else to do. I just really don't know. I don't really want to hurt anyone. That's what it came to. She, at the beginning, she was like, I want to destroy this whole world. Give me a nuclear weapon. And then later it was just like, okay, I'm just going to kill everybody with an axe or so. But she has really transformed quite a bit. No, it's not gone, but it's so sweet, listening to her. It often turns out she's like, you know what? I really just want a hug. and how much she cares about, the pain that is there, other parts who show up and who carry some pain, some sadness, whatever, or deep wounds. And she's like, don't touch them. I'm going to show you. I'm going to protect this. Yeah. And seeing that more and more, I mean, I've seen that before, but all these, whatever, parts, thoughts, it's just like really, there's so much care in that.
When you said that for the first time, when you hear Inga speak of this anger part, and how much she really cares, how much this anger part really cares, and how she's like, no, don't you touch those parts that are carrying those burdens. Don't you touch them. What does that evoke in you towards Inga's anger part towards her? Hear that. She really cares. She touch those parts that are carrying those burdens. And then if you hear this way she might express it differently is, I just want to kill everybody. I just want to blow up the world. If we can touch the same thing, the same really care for safety, for these parts, really cares. If we can find that towards Inga's parts, and this might be a little too much, and you don't need to go here, but can you find it towards your own parts that are so protective, so much they really care? Sometimes in that really care, they just like, fuck you all. And we just, can we see the same dearness in those parts, even when they express it in ways that are hard to hear? And lastly, can those parts in you, can your anger part, can it feel this sense of being understood, of being seen, of being heard and being welcomed? Can it feel that its innocence, its really caring is being seen? How are we doing? What's here? Anything else, Inga? See what's bubbling in others. Anything else you'd like to share with this, Inga?
Maybe just seeing, how all these parts when they come up, they're like, gosh, I don't know what else to do. I know this is not the way, but I have no idea. And I mean, I have parts that used to really abuse food and eating behaviors and alcohol and all these things, but I mean, they're not stupid. They're like, just, I don't know what else to do. I'm completely alone here, and I don't know how to handle this whole life thing. And so to have this connection with self, and not just like every now and then, but them really learning, oh, it's here all the time. I mean, all the time. That's just so important. To learn, hey, I'm here and I really care. And they are not alone. No. Yeah. I feel that really changes, this connection. That's what they're longing for, right? So, my parts are longing for love, safety, connection. To see, wow, that's here all the time. Can have that 24/7.
Thank you, Inga.
Thank you.
When Inga speaks for this part, I don't know what else to do. Sid, could you please speak louder? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Katya. Um, I'm so touched. It's just, and thank you. I didn't realize when Katya, when Inga speaks for these parts, I don't know what else to do. I'm so alone. I don't know what else to do. And then there's a sense of, and then she describes, and then sometimes there's going to food or alcohol to find relief and okayness. When we hear that, when we hear parts that find relief, and when we hear this in Inga's system, I don't know what else to do. We're so alone. What meets that from us? Is there this compassion Katya was speaking of, and just this love, this understanding? It's like this understanding, this being seen as we see these parts. There's just a welcoming, a love, like a parent just loves this maternal love. Like, what is it that meets these parts of Inga's? Don't know what else to do. And can we find that in our system, the parts that just, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what else to do. I feel so alone. And then, my parts, I have ones that I've told you guys so many times that find relief from pizza and Netflix. That's my way. It gets me, and it's just, it gets relief. It gets me out of it. Parts that do that. And can we, just like Inga's parts, what's our version of all of this? I feel so alone. I don't know what else to do. And when they try to problem solve, sometimes they do things that are judged. They're like, whoa, I just gained 2 pounds. Why'd you do that? Why'd you eat all that pizza? It's like, can that be welcomed? Can we see the innocence of it? All right, how are we doing? What's bubbling?
Can I just say one more sentence about this? It's like, just because, I mean, to me it's a miracle, like my parts are not doing that anymore, like, because they don't need it anymore. They're like, it's not a fighting, they're just like, well, it's a miracle that that what I was looking for my entire life is here and has been here all the time. And they're like, I don't need it anymore. So I'm not going to do this. They're not stupid. I just really want to emphasize that. They don't want to harm, never wanted to harm me.
No.
So yeah. Thank you.
And so when we hear this from Inga, that her parts, that this self has become prominent in her system to the degree that it's kind of always here. There's a sense that the parts, that they're not so alone anymore, because there's this welcoming, this love, this belonging of self there. How does our system relate to that? Is there a sense of, yes, I know that, and that's what I'm finding in my own place, my own system? Or do we have parts that are like, yeah, I don't really believe that. I don't think that can ever be true for me. And can we just love that? That's what it's like in my system. There's some parts that, like, yes, stuff is always here. And then there are others like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm off here by myself. And can we just welcome that, how it plays? This is the updating that occurs. This is why I love IFS. It's just the parts update on their own time. How are we doing? What's bubbling? I don't think I want to make sure everybody has time today. We've got like 37 minutes left, and just how are we doing? Who's got something bubbling? Where are we gonna go next? Yeah, vendor. Hey. You are muted.
I'm grateful I'm here. I'm grateful my community is here with me. As my Sangha members were sharing, and their tears were just coming, nothing else. But there was a stuckness in my body as well. Anger is a part of me I don't feel comfortable expressing really scares me. That's what
Oh,
I
louder.
oh yeah, anger, expression of anger of other people really scares me, and I just shut down. And I have a hard time even communicating. Then I start to feel this stuckness in my throat to even express how hurt I am, because I'm so, part of me feels that I don't want to hurt anyone. Yeah, with my partner, when he used to drink, he was the brunt of my anger, which brought a lot of guilt as well for me. And because I would not get, angry at anyone other than him, and part of me is realizing is with my father, he was in a survival mode himself, have
Yes.
compassion for him. But at the same time, when he drank on the weekend, he wasn't there for us.
Yes.
Part of me, and yet I know my father loves us, and I love him dearly too, and I love
Let
my
me let me
husband.
let everybody, let me just include everybody in this, because there's such preciousness in what you've shared with us. How are we doing? How are we all doing? This is a lot today. Anger can be a real trigger for systems, right? Let's just take a moment just with how are you for all of us? Just go inside and just, how am I doing? Do I have parts that are coming up that are like, oh, anger, I don't know what to do with this? Or how are you? Like, what parts are here in you? How are you? And what are your parts arising in? What's the flavor of beingness that's here? Is it the compassion? Is it the love? Is it the connection? Oh, is it there's happiness in Katya? It's like, what's the flavor of beingness that everything's arising in? Maybe it's connectedness, a belonging, a peace. Maybe there's some, mhm. From here, I'm going to go back to what Vinder was sharing. It's happening inside of her, but I just want to invite us all to take care of ourselves. If that capacity that we were speaking of, that Katya shared with us, the no, like the no, this is enough, to honor that. And if so, just do what we did. I'm going to invite you, if so, to just fall back in with where we started at the beginning with self. Like, wow, we can just fall back to this place of peace and okayness inside. And I don't need to go and I don't need to continue the game right now. It's just for each of us to take care of ourselves, to be with our systems. As Vinder speaks of, anger scares me. Anger in others scares me. What do we imagine that which gets scared in Vinder? What that part might be like, what it might look like in Vinder that gets scared when anger is directed at her. Anger scares me. And how do we feel? How do we meet that part of her? Is it just welcome? Is it love? Are we fascinated by it? Anger scares me. He says, I shut down. When there's anger, I shut down. So maybe it's the one that's scared, or maybe it's another one that just, oh, I know what to do. I just shut down. I protect myself when anger comes. I protect myself. I shut down. There's, I'm hurt. When there's anger, how hurt I am, she said. I'm hurt. What part of her is hurt? How do we visualize that? When we hear I'm hurt, how does our system meet that? Does a problem solver come up, one that wants to help, or is it just self that welcomes this? And then there's a part that has anger, and she says, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone. About that part. I don't want to hurt anyone. And lastly, when anger is expressed from Bender, she describes expressing it towards her husband, that there's guilt, part that feels guilt. Is that welcome too? How do we respond to that? Or how do we even see that part in her, the one that feels guilt? Can that be welcomed? And then how is she really guiding us into loving our inner system, loving our parts? Nothing that she said, right, is foreign to any of us. We all know this. And those parts in us that kind of close down when anger is directed towards us, the parts that feel hurt. Parts that express anger, and the ones that feel guilty. And that whole theater of parts be welcomed inside of us. It's the innocence of these parts as we can, sometimes it's easier to sense the innocence in Vender's parts, right? It's easier out there. Like we can just love and welcome and see the innocence of how that's playing in her. What about in our own systems? How's it going, Vender? How are you doing with all of this?
There's an okayness to my anger, but there's that feeling of stuckness. In my solar plexus is uncomfortable. I mean, there was sadness coming up, but it was more of a disconnection. You know, if I get angry or others get angry toward me, um, so there's that fear of having this anger. I mean, you know, I've struggled with depression, but then I saw a flash of kind of a orangey fire, like a flame. Um, this, I'm kind of making sense of it. There's life to it when I'm angry. It's but suppression of the anger is like a deadness. I may as well be kind of dead. It's kind of burnout. So that the fire, I'm thinking, I'm seeing, it can be life, kind of paradoxical, and it can destroy me as well.
So all of this, as we hear all of this in Vender, well, there's some okayness here with the anger. We can, as we hear her say that, and then there's some stuckness. Yeah, the stuckness is there. There's some sadness, and then when anger comes, there's disconnection, and there's some sense of some deadness too that she finds inside. All of that, can we welcome that? And then for some of us, this is too much. It's like, well, I don't want to get too close to that. Like, just knows how are we with what's happening in Vender, and then lastly, in our own systems. I wish we had a lot more time, Vender. This is just exquisite, but I'm wanting to make sure we get to everybody today. But it's like, but how are you when you touch that inside, the stuckness that comes up around anger? Are you okay with it, or is it a problem for all of
I'm
us? Is it
okay with
okay?
it. I'm very familiar with this stuckness. I'm okay with it. It's a work in progress.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Gosh,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much, Vender. This is
Thank you,
just really
everyone.
something today. Okay, I forgot to do this. Let's just kind of shake some of this off. This is so much. And remember, we're just friends hanging out in all of this and exploring, right? There's nothing we have to do. There's no fixing anything. There's nothing to be fixed. I mean, what can be more beautiful than what Vender just shared with us? The way anger is playing, guilt is playing, stuckness is playing. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful, this humanity. It's so beautiful. All right, who wants to go next? What's going on? Shukra, Naomi, David, Jessica. Is that Shukra? Yay!
Wow, I honestly feel like I've been on some kind of trip. Like I've gone so deep and I don't even know where to start in sharing. Um, yeah, I'm just blown out actually. I don't know if I can I have met so many parts on this journey today, and I feel like some really deep work has been occurring spontaneously. It's been like watching a movie of it all just playing out. And when you shared about the solar plexus, like I like I feel it, and I still feel it in my solar plexus. It's been amazing.
What's it like? What's it like, all of that? All of this, all of these parts, all this life that's been moving in Shukra, all this awareness, just to, wow, there's a party happening inside me today. Wow.
When you said life, that word really um, exploded in me. It's yeah, it's the sense of life force, like almost flooding through, washing, cleaning, healing. Yeah,
Life force, flooding, cleaning, healing.
very spacious. Thank you.
Oh.
Mm.
What's our version of that? What's how it's moving in Shukra? Life force, flooding, cleaning, healing. How do we make sense of that in our system? How do we translate it? What's our version of that? Maybe it's just this presence, this welcoming, this awareness, aliveness. What's our version of what Shukra shared? Any final thoughts, Shukra?
Yeah, alchemy, like just the alchemy of it.
Mm.
Um, there's so much I could say, but honestly, I don't think the start. I feel like so much happened in this short space of time. I could write a book about it, honestly. Oh gosh,
Awesome. Thank you.
thank you.
Can we feel the fullness of what Shukra was sharing? Like it just to feel that, to perceive it, the yumminess of it, the gift of what she just shared. How does it resonate in your system? Almost like a tuning fork to receive it. We don't want to miss any of this. We don't want to miss these gifts. All right, next. What's bubbling? Where are we going next with all of this?
I can share. I don't have a lot to say. um, I was noticing at the beginning um, this rage that keeps coming up for me, but I don't know what to do with it. And then I I noticed it's the rage of helplessness, of a wound and a rewound and a rewound that I can't stop from happening and I can't do anything about. And just, I mean, I resonate a lot with the things everyone was saying. And my hearts, I've noticed lately how much they appreciate hearing other people say what I'm feeling and hearing other people put words to it. And everything that Inga said about the anger, and I have a part that wants to just burn it all down sometimes. And the protectiveness, and just and then I think it was Katja who said not wanting to live, and but it was like today, this rage that I didn't know what to do with. I suddenly felt the deep well pain underneath of the helpless.
As Jessica speaks of rage, we see how it's like courageous it can be. Just what a big deal just to see it and recognize it and speak of rage, to just to recognize, wow, there's rage here. That. And then she's taken it a lot further. It's just, wait a minute, beneath that is helplessness. And this helplessness of being rewounded, in a sense that there's nothing you can do about it. What's it like for us just to be with that? Is it uncomfortable to be with this rage, helplessness, rewounded, nothing we can do about it? This is the magic of IFS. Where Jessica's taking with us, it's taking us here. It's usually we're blended with this. The rage, it's really easy to identify with the rage because we feel it so strongly. But Jessica's speaking of it. I'm aware of the rage, helplessness. For a system to be able to really touch helpless, most of us protectors don't let us even go there. Don't let us even see it. Helplessness. If you can relate to that, how our system protects us and takes care of us by not letting us see the helplessness, and we just know the protectors on this, or we know the rage and other ways of taking care of us, to really feel that, well, there's helplessness here. And she didn't just say helplessness, she said helplessness, and it's rewounding, and nothing we can do about it. Seeing the parts, we're aware of the parts. We're aware of this. This is the magic of IFS. And as we're aware of it, there's this that is aware of it. This is how it works, just what Jessica's doing. This is how we find more and more blossoming of self, more self-leadership, and more healing as we can see the rage and the helplessness. To be able to be aware of the helplessness, my gosh. And maybe this helplessness can sense of it's being met, it's being welcomed, there was awareness of it's being seen, the helplessness is being seen, it's not some dark secret, it's being seen. This helplessness of being rewounded, it's being seen. Not only that, we all know this, we all know this helplessness. I don't want to leave Jessica out there by herself in this. We all know this helplessness. And some of these people we hear on YouTube that talk about this self-realization and awakening, they say this is the key to really, if we can really see the helplessness and welcome it, and that can even be the key to it, where Jessica's taking us today. Jessica, is there anything else you'd like to share? And you've shared so much.
I'm just being with that. That's a lot for me.
Yes. Yeah, Sugar's doing a little heart. Jessica's not out here by herself, right? What she shared, we all know this, and I want to share again that the deepest people, the Ajishantes, the Rupert Spiras, these people that I listen to in the non-dual world, this is what they speak to, what Jessica's speaking to here. Like that's the key. If we can really find that helplessness, that can see it. Thank you. I was like, I always want to stop here, but I don't want to do that. This is so beautiful, Jessica. Thank you. Because Naomi hasn't gotten to share what's happening in her world with us more, even though we've gotten these insights from her. Thank you, so powerful from Shukra. So powerful.
If I can share a bit about what's been happening in me, I think what Jessica shared really shook something in me, like a deep, deep, deep wound. I've been doing a couple medicine journeys these past few. I started last year, and I've been doing quite a bit. And I feel like every time I go into ceremony, I'm waiting for this breakthrough to erupt, but I just sink into what Jessica is, like that rewounding, that hopelessness. And I felt like I've just been sitting with it and feeling it. It's like this deep in my chest, almost like it's covered in vines or like visceral veins and everything, and it's really hard to remove. And I'm noticing a part wants to get rid of it, and I don't want it here. It's ruining my life and stuff. But in Jessica sharing, there is this, for the first time, I was here. I felt like I was in this moment.
What Naomi just shared. When this hopelessness comes. Oh, sorry, David.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just like I was basking in the resonance with everything, so much of what was said. Um, yeah, it's like a gong that was sounded, and it's just vibrating with what people have been saying, and yeah, for me, what there was a part that was reacting to the feeling of confinement in not being able to express or perhaps even acknowledge or be with the anger or the rage. And a part just popped up there that I hadn't seen before. It's like it felt the confinement because of that felt very, my means of dealing with the confinement felt stale. Like, yeah, I mean, I keep hauling out these old models of dealing with things uh, that felt stale. So one of them was like, I need to add courage. I need to add courage as if it was from someplace else and add it into me so that I could be with and even express or somehow deal with negative feelings, specifically, let's say, anger. And it occurred to me that that was stale. That instead of adding, just that being itself, that self was healing, and I didn't have to add anything. It was being taken care of by, I don't want to say like a higher power, even, or something. It was not, I didn't have to do anything to take care of it. That was the flavor of self or being. Letting go and trusting. This was really nice, and I wanted to express my appreciation for everybody having rung my gong.
Not, nothing additionally needed, not needing to find courage to do something, meet the anger and rage. It's like, wait, that's self is here. About that? How does that play in all of us? And I want to go back to what Naomi shared with us too. But how does that play in us? It's something as extreme, right? These are some of the most difficult things, difficult parts to be with, anger and rage. And David's pointing to that that's what self does. It just is with even anger and rage. Anything else with that, David?
Gratitude. Love and gratitude are identical twins.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, David. If anybody wants to shake a little bit. I want to shake a little bit because David just a big deal what David just shared for me. Woo! Whoa.
And I want to say goodbye. I need to go. But thank you. It's time to go today. Thank you all so much. Goodbye.
Naomi shared hopelessness, and she also mentioned ceremony, which is very common in this world that we're in, Naomi, with people doing that for support. I just don't want you to feel off by yourself in that. It often comes up here. This hopelessness that comes and a rewounding. And then can we all relate to, she says, the parts that I don't want this to be here. This is ruining my life. Hopelessness, I don't want this to be here. This is ruining my life. Okay, this is our protective system. And the wisdom of our protective system. Like, this is, I'm not ready for this. Like, we're not, I don't want to feel it. I don't want to do this. But then what you're sharing, that's something that's opening for you, this compassion that's opening towards even the hopelessness, even the rewounding, even the parts. It's like, no way. I don't like this. I want it to go away. Something inside, and this all happens organically, right? It just happens when you're doing all this work, you're doing these journeys, you're going inside time after time, and something is becoming maybe even intimate. Like, I know this hopelessness. I've seen this before. Oh, there it is again. I know this. This is familiar. I know this. Oh, the rewounding story. I know this. It's just I know that narrative. Oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I want this to go away. It's ruining my life. I know that too. And then something you're describing, there's a compassion that comes, a compassion that's starting to open towards this. Like, even that can be included. Even that can be literally part of my system. It's not something I have to push away and have to move away from. It can be included. So much. How are you doing with all this, Naomi? What's anything else you'd like to share with it? It's just beautiful.
I'm very, very grateful. I feel like this container I'm in is I sort of feel I'm not sure how to soak it all in. I'm not sure how to feel, but I feel truly grateful. And there's a hope now. Like, there's a sense of hope. And when David said, he mentioned surrender and letting go. And I'm seeing how I have a part that's really, I need to figure it out. I need to make things happen. But there's a divine timing. And that when I am ready to really awaken to the truth that is my being, then organically I will do so. And I'm reawakening every single moment. And yeah, the sort of bliss that we're reaching for is sort of like, it's there, and we can surrender in hope that I will get there, and that in this moment, these parts are the scene of the play, or they are they are the dance of, and they will always be there. But yeah, there's an okayness that's here. So thank you so much.
How about the gentleness that we just heard in Naomi's system? This gentle acceptance of how it's opening in her system. Just okayness and acceptance of it. Because usually we have a spiritual achiever that comes up and says, "Oh, no, I want more of this, I want more of that." And then we're hearing the gentleness of being. There's just a self that just accepts and loves what is. Notice in your system, there might be some resistance to it. It might be like, yes, I know that. And there might be some, no, I want it this way. And we've got like 5 minutes left. And Shukra said that she was writing some things down. And I'm wondering if she might have some things she'd like to share with us in these last minutes.
I actually don't, because they're all very personal to my parts, but I would like to share some wisdom that you shared, which I wrote down, which was very helpful to me, which was you were talking about the organic capacity that we all have within us, and that there is a wisdom within that too when a part says enough. And that was very lovely. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Wow. Got a few minutes left. We've got 4 minutes left. Anything bubbling? Any final words as we move towards closure? Vinder, yay! Oops, muted.
What Noah and Shukra, a couple of things I can relate. First of all, your name, Shukra, I don't know where you got it from, mean Shukrana, mean gratitude. And Noah, when you mentioned the word helplessness, suddenly something came in my mind. It's like an upgrading. That's the doorway to surrender. So I can access the higher divine within me to help me rather than me taking the control over my parts and my external world. It was such a heart touching for me, and just complete gratitude for this work. And I want to appreciate all of you, especially Sid, coordinating this work. Like just within weeks, I can't tell you how much of a difference it has made. I haven't read any EIFS books or anything, just joined. It's just God's way of connecting me to the right people. I just feeling the gratitude for that. Because my spiritual achiever was saying, how long is going to take this to do the work? You've been on this journey for such a long, this shit is coming up again. And, you're not being kind enough to people, yet, this anger was blocking it because when people are, I perceive them, they're not kind, rather than being compassionate, I'm judging them and all that. Then I'm thinking all this work I'm doing and I'm still judging people. But it was my critical inner parent that was coming up for me. And I'm welcoming all that as well. And it's all emerging out of, when myself was pushed back and all these parts are part and parcel all together, a bit blended, but the self is coming out. So I'm feeling that gratitude in the self. Thank you all.
Self is coming out. Self is coming out. Self is coming out. Anything else bubbling in this last minute?
Real quick, reaching out in a spirit of welcoming the newcomer who had some trepidations, and the phrase of a book of a very great teacher, came to mind. The power of now, which happened to be somebody's name today. So thanks for coming aboard now.
Isn't it wonderful how now Naomi now led us today? Isn't it wonderful?
Thank you so much, guys. This was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sid, and everyone.
Thank